You're listening to a DM podcast.
We would like to acknowledge and give thanks to the traditional owners of the land we record this podcast on, the Yagara and Turrbal people,
and their continued connection to the land and waterways on which we meet.
Hello and welcome to Sportish, where we look at life through the lens of sport. I kind of like it.
I love it.
What do you think?
It was something we toyed with many moons ago.
Possibly only 6 months ago, but it feels like a decade.
Basically a lifetime. And I think after last week's episode where we were on tangents upon tangents of what life is and how it connects to sport. So I think that you reminded us that was something that we were landing with. So I'm digging it. Let's go with it.
I like it. Let's see if the shoe fits. Speaking of life through the lens of sport, I got to have the most glorious 1.5 hours over my weekend where I did the most mundane and boring jobs listening to the dulcet tones of Toto Wolff in my ears.
I love Toto.
So he has just done like this very expansive episode with Dax Shepard, who has the podcast Armchair Experts, which is like one of the biggest podcasts in the world. And it flashed up in my Instagram.
People who don't know Dax Shepard, he's married to Kirsten Bell. So who is Anna from Frozen?
She's kind of a big deal. She's in that Hot Rabbi Netflix bizzo at the moment.
Oh, of course. Yes, that too. But Frozen,
she's quite actually in the zeitgeist at the moment. Anyway, Dax Shepard talking to Toto Wolff. Just, they go everywhere. They're talking about what they eat and free diving and what sort of cars Toto drives, but also, and this is fascinating, the relationship between Toto and Susie. And then Susie calls midway through the podcast and Toto always has his phone on silent. The only thing that can cut through is a call from Susie, his wife, who, for anyone who's not aware, Susie Wolff is the only female that's ever raced in F1. She did a few test laps, I believe, for Williams many years ago, and she's the head of the F1 Academy, which is the women's F1 program. She's just gloriously brilliant.
We love her.
It's an absolute game changer. She is married to Toto Wolff, who is the team principal for Mercedes or AMG Mercedes, and he has been working in partnership with Lewis Hamilton, one of the greatest drivers ever since Michael Schumacher, and he talks in depth about that relationship.
Oh my God.
Here's the kicker. So Dax says to him, like, I almost don't want to ask you this question because I don't know how you'll feel about it, but were you relieved that Lewis decided to leave Mercedes? And Toto was like, absolutely. How do you walk away from a 7-time world champion who's you've known for, a decade, who is like a brother? Toto's grateful, and maybe this is a beautiful way for Toto to frame it, but Toto is so grateful for Lewis for being the one to walk away.
But maybe that was part of Lewis's reasoning as well. Oh.
And Toto was very pragmatic because he sort of said, who doesn't ever want to drive a Ferrari? Like, we all want to drive Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's like the most picture-perfect way for Lewis to exit the sport is via Ferrari.
Totally.
I think if he'd gone anywhere else, that would have been really hard for Mercedes to swallow. But to go to Ferrari, Toto was like, yeah.
I feel like any team losing their driver to Ferrari, you kind of go, all right, I get it.
Fair. And there's been so much drama in F1 between some of the key drivers on this weekend where it should have all been about Lewis and Lewis finishing his time with Mercedes.
Of course. Tell me everything, Georgie, because I've got one statistic which I think is amazing.
Well, tell me your statistic.
Pierre Gasly, who I don't even know who he races for anymore, but he was racing for
AlphaTauri.
He was at Red Bull. He was at AlphaTauri. Anyway, he has got through the entire 2024 season and hasn't cost his team a single dollar in damages to his car. He has not damaged his car once in one single race in the entirety of 2024, which is like unheard of. Like, I just thought that was such a cool statistic.
But do you think he's actually racing hard enough then?
Oh, probably not. maybe his goal for 2024 is just to crash not at all. And then maybe next year it'll be just to crash all the time. Who knows?
God, imagine, compare the cost of him to Yuki. My goodness.
I mean, exactly.
It's like chalk and cheese.
It costs his team billions.
Go and check out that podcast. It was just talk about tangents. You've just got to be prepared to go on a few wild rides. And
I am always ready to go on a wild ride with Toto. I don't know if you've heard the news, Georgie, but an icon of Australian swimming has had an accident.
oh,
Dawn Fraser, one of our greatest of all time, she's 87 now, unfortunately had a fall. And I just wanted to take a moment to send my love to Dawny. She's obviously an icon and is definitely getting on in years. Yeah, I think the majority of Australia is just like sending their love and best wishes. I think she had a few broken bones and she was in ICU for a little bit as well, but she's out of that now. And fingers crossed for a full recovery for Dawny.
it's been brilliant watching her on the sidelines of all the swimming. I always look at her and think, my God, at 87, I want to be attending all the live sporting events that I can, like Dawn Fraser.
Right? She's amazing. But yeah, sending all our love to Dawny.
Lib, the aths track in Brisbane is hot at the moment. And it's not just the fact that the weekend was disgusting and like 35 degrees in the shade.
Apparently it's hot. I'm in Melbourne, so it's cold down here and I don't understand it at all.
Is it really cold? Really?
Yeah, it was like 21 degrees max today.
Oh, I dream of 21-degree days.
That's our winter.
So over the weekend, there was like a school age nationals championship.
And can I say, I have never in my life been more interested in an age group national level athletics competition. I have never seen a full athletics competition ever. And this year I was interested in the youth nationals.
So I considered getting in the car with two of my kids who are on holidays to take them out to behold this next athlete. So if you haven't been following on socials with us, over the weekend, a 16-year-old boy from Ipswich by the name of Gout Gout, who has been on our radar for a little bit of time now, he broke some incredible long-standing records. On Friday, he broke a 100-metre record for his age group, I'm pretty sure. It was like the fourth fastest ever 100-metre time on Australian soil or by an Australian. He did 10.4, which was deemed to have been wind assisted, so it doesn't sort of chart officially. 10.04. My apologies.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very important in 100 metres.
Yeah, it's very important. It's the difference between like winning and like coming last.
It's like me running versus actual athletes. And Gout Gout takes off from the blocks and you watch him and you think, yeah, he's pretty good, but he's not in front of that other guy. There was a guy in another lane who was just out in front. And then something happens at like the 30-metre, 40-metre mark, and this kid can accelerate like nothing else you have ever seen, except you have probably seen something like it, and it's Usain Bolt that all the commentators are comparing this kid to. He is an absolute phenomenon.
I love watching him run. The stride length and the pace and the top speed and the acceleration through to the end of the track is just joyful to watch. And yeah, he just absolutely smacks of Usain Bolt. And of course, he's getting those comparisons. It was, faster than Usain did at the same age. And all of these comparisons are already popping up. But for me, like the 100 was incredible. Like that was amazing. But the 200 was magic, absolute magic.
I had seen him race a couple of months ago and watched him do the 200 and just had to pick my jaw up off the floor having watched it. And I have to tell you, like these races that as they were happening over the weekend, I was at Trickett, of course, because that's my new place.
That's where you live now.
I live there now. And there was a group of us huddled around the phone watching the replays of this guy. Like this is how big of a step change this is for Australian athletics, that we would be standing on the side of a cricket field watching replays of a schoolboy athletics meet and watching him doing the 200 again. He's broken a record that has been in place since 1968. That record was held by
56 years.
Yeah. So held by Peter Norman. If that name's not familiar to you, that's completely understandable. We've gone deep on athletics today.
Oh, so deep.
It's so good that we've done some research on, like, we've been watching sprint. So I feel like we're in this athletic zone at the moment.
I'm in the zone. I'm absolutely in the zone, George.
So Peter Norman's record in 1968 was set at the Mexico City Olympics. It's the longest held senior record in Australian athletics. This is not a schoolboy record. This is a senior all-comers
He got
record.
silver at the Olympics. Like, Peter Norman got silver at the Olympics.
And he stood on that podium with two athletes who did the Black Power salute.
Which is an iconic image. So, like, you would know the image. And the Australian in that is Peter Norman, who Gout Gout just broke his record.
And beautifully, Peter Norman's family has come out over the weekend and said he would be so thrilled to see that this record has fallen and to see Gout Gout do it the way that he did. And that's always lovely to see the family of the athlete get around the next sort of iteration of the sport, I guess. But it's because Gout Gout had been performing in the last couple of months, I'd picked up a couple of different things and I heard his coach speaking on the radio. And the thing about this guy, right, he's 16 years old. He still hasn't done grade 12. He's got to do grade 12 next year. He's being coached by a lady called Dax Shepard, who has coached in Brisbane for many, many years. And what I loved about her is that she's clearly got this incredible talent that she's identified. She pulled him out of rugby at the school that he was at because she said, I think you should come and have a go on the track. And he was like, maybe. And then he went and ran and he was like, okay, let's do it. But she's really aware that she doesn't want to push him too hard too early. She really anticipates the need for him to grow, develop and make mistakes. And she said it's going to be really important over the next couple of years to really compete and make the mistakes and have those learnings. She and the team around him have been very conscious of keeping him out of the media eye. I believe he hasn't done many interviews with the media for that very reason, because they're so conscious of just preserving him in this little bubble that he lives in Ipswich and letting him to compete on at these incredible national meets, but making sure that they've got the right things around him and not pushing him into the spotlight too early. And in fact, other athletics commentators have come out today and runners from within Australian athletics and said, you don't want to send him out onto the world stage too soon. Like, he's got to be given the chance to develop.
And what I love about that, because you already saw that in social media, they're like, we have to protect this guy at all costs. Like, he could be amazing, but we don't want to put crazy amounts of pressure on him. He's going to get that, unfortunately, and he's going to have to learn to navigate it and manage it and all those sorts of things. You know, he'll have his own expectations of himself and his performances as well. But he's 16. We have 8 years before Brisbane 2032, and he will be 24. And if that isn't like prime time for a sprinter, the opportunity is huge, but they have to allow him to make mistakes. They have to allow him to stuff up. They have to allow him to be a bit of a kid and not take things too seriously, because we don't want him to burn out and we don't want him to get injured before that opportunity in 8 years' time. And like, 8 years sounds like a huge amount of time, right? But it will go in the blink of an eye. And what they're putting into place just sounds just better than we could hope.
This is from Shepard. Listen to this. When Gout and I got back from World Juniors, we were talking about a week afterwards, and he goes to me, what we did in Peru was pretty big, hey? And I went, yeah. But he said, we're not acting like it. And I said, I think the reason we're not acting like it, Gout, is because we know it's a stepping stone. Our plans are pretty hard and fast. Every meet we attend is a learning meet, irrelevant of the level of the meet. It's gold standard.
Can we just make more of her and just send her out into every sport, into every club, and just like make her the head coach of everyone? She can be my coach in life, and that would be great.
So sensible.
So sensible and just so, just the vision. Like, what an absolute joy to hear a coach talk like that. I just love it. Love.
Gout's father has come out and said, actually, that's not his name.
Which is horrifying.
When they were completing documentation to come either to Australia or Canada, so Gout's family is originally from Sudan and they came to Australia via Egypt, I believe. And when they were in Egypt looking at different countries that they could settle in, one was Canada, one was Australia. And with the Australian forms, I believe there was a transposition of the letters in their name. So then his name should actually be spelled G-U-O-T. And that is pronounced completely differently to gout. And they're very aware that gout is like a disease. And they're like, we feel so bad that our son has a name that sounds like a disease.
Yeah, because I heard the dad pronounce it and it was Gout. Gout.
Gout.
Gout hasn't come out and corrected everyone or like no one said anything. So it's hard to know what to call him.
All their family's paperwork is G-O-U-T. So it's not just, it would be a massive undertaking to change all your official documents.
So he's just like, I'm just Gout now.
Yeah, and it'll be like how refugees came out to Australia after the Second World War and they anglicised their names to, assimilate. I imagine there will have been a similar decision that's been made. But now that he has this global presence and he's been signed by Adidas, I guess the family's gone, oh, this is our opportunity potentially to get our name right.
Change it, yeah.
And why not? If your son is potentially the next Usain Bolt, let's get the name right. I feel like we could do that for you.
And you know what? I'm happy to call him whatever because eventually he's going to be our GOAT. So doesn't matter.
Welcome.
There's also other magical performances on the track. And we should mention one particular one, 17-year-old two-bell Phillip, who has just become the number 3 Aussie under 18 of all time behind Raylene Boyle and Tori Lewis. So, like, we are on fire in terms of our sprinting in Australia, and like the future is really bright. Like it's weird to think that we might actually have some pretty good athletes coming through. And by athletes, I mean runners. And I'm sorry to all the runners, but generally.
Libby's coming to terms with the fact that swimming may now have a strong competitor in the athletics field.
The swimmers are so good. We carry the team mostly, but it would be lovely. Gosh, I'm a bitch. We've had some amazing athletes, Sally Pearson, Steve Hooker, so many in the past and, currently incredible. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anything else, but it's lovely to see that runners come really good.
So, Lib, last week we spoke about the fact that we want to start talking over the next couple of weeks, taking some listener questions. And I thought this was very interesting given the conversations we've had over the last couple of episodes around retirement and transitioning with like Emma McKeon and the work you were doing with the Olympic Committee. And we've got this question from a crossfitter, which I'd like to read to you. I'm hoping you can offer some advice to me. For the past 5 years, I've dedicated all my time and energy to competing in elite CrossFit, trying to reach the top like everyone in elite sports. This year, I finally achieved that goal, but it didn't feel like I expected. It was one of the hardest years, and I'm questioning whether the sacrifices were truly worth it and if I was doing it for the right reasons. I thought achieving this dream would have made me feel fulfilled and that it was everything I had hoped it would be, but instead I felt lost, like I was searching for a feeling that was never going to come. In Australia, the sport doesn't have any funding, so being a full-time athlete just isn't possible. I've always worked full-time, putting so many other aspects of my life on hold, and now I'm not sure I can or want to keep going like this. I also feel like I have little to show for my efforts. I want to step away, but I'm terrified because it feels like this is all I have and all I've ever known. I've always seen myself as becoming a professional athlete, and it's tough to accept that that's not going to happen. I'm unsure of how to navigate my next steps and quite frankly pretty scared. Competing in sport have always defined me.
I mean, feels like if that doesn't just speak into my soul. I don't know what does. It's such a difficult thing. I mean, I feel like there's layers to this, right? So she achieved what she wanted to achieve, right? She got to the level that she was hoping for, that she was dreaming for, that she was working for. And then you realize that that's not the thing that's going to make you whole.
Did you ever experience that, Libby Trickett?
Well, funny that you say that, Georgie Trickett, because, yeah, absolutely. I touched the wall in Beijing and won the 100 meters butterfly. And I know this doesn't make any sense whatsoever to a lot of people, I'm sure. But you'd think on some level there's going to be this like pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Like this is the moment, like the skies will part, the sun will shine
like
down.
A God moment of be like, ah.
And, you know, this is probably going too deep. And, you know, I hope this lady takes this with a grain of salt or takes what she needs from this. But for me, I thought that would make me feel whole. Like I've thought that would fill the void of not enoughness. And that would make me a complete person, and that would make me loved and lovable, and all of my dreams would have come true, and, you know, make lots of money, and like that's my life set up forever. The reality is it's not. That's not the thing. That's not the thing that makes you whole. That's not the thing that, if you don't feel like you're enough without having that achievement on your list, then you're not going to be enough with it. And sometimes it takes achieving the thing to realize that that's the case. And I certainly feel like that was the case for me, because it wasn't enough. Like it was never enough. And for me, then I was like, okay, now I've got to win the 100 freestyle. Now I've got to win the 50 freestyle. Now I've got to, you know, go back to back and get back for London and then go to a fourth Olympics. So like it was never enough. So work through what you need to work through if that resonates for you. And certainly that does take a lot of self-exploration and understanding and giving yourself a hell of a lot of grace. And
what you're saying, though, very generously, is that she's not the first to have reached the top of the mountain and seen this. And she certainly won't be the last.
She absolutely will not be the last. And she is self-aware, because she started to go like, is all of this sacrifice worth it? If that's, you know, not filling her in a way that, you know, is making her feel nourished and whole and, you know, getting what she wants out of the sport. And the other thing, you know, around stepping away and, you know, being really scared of that, because not knowing who you are outside of that sport and not knowing how to value yourself outside of the sport, not knowing how to necessarily talk to people, because that's something that people want to talk to you about. Like, oh, you're training for CrossFit. Oh, you're doing that. Oh, you're a professional CrossFitter. Like that's something really exciting. It's your identity. It's exciting. You know, it's the same with me with swimming. Like, oh, what are you training for now? Where are you going? You know, how are you traveling? All of those sorts of stuff. And it's really difficult to kind of step away from that. And, you know, I still have moments now. I'm almost 40. I haven't swum for 13 years, and I will probably forever be known as Libby Trickett the swimmer. Like I will never get away from that part of my identity. But having said that, what the sport gave me was so valuable. And I think that's where athletes need to look at what the sport has given them. And sometimes it's a lot of shit. I think there's a lot of shit that goes along with professional sport, and a huge amount of sacrifice. And, you know, she has to work out whether that sacrifice is worth it at this stage in her life. And if it's not, then maybe look at, as we always say, Georgie, stepping back. You don't have to stop completely. Just step back and give yourself some space and see if that fire is still there, and see if, you know, you can see that the sacrifice has been worth it for a little bit longer. But if it's not, then just enjoy it. Like sports can still give you so much. There are so many different types of sport that you can get so much fulfillment from. And just recognizing that you as a CrossFitter, or as, you know, whatever athlete that you might be, that is not all of you, and it will never be all of you. And that's really, really important to remember, particularly if you are stepping away from the sport.
I think that's spot on. And I think, like we were talking about in last week's episode, the opportunity to step back and evaluate and just take a break, I just don't think that can be underestimated.
Oh, exactly. And don't be afraid to do that. Like, that either might prolong your career or it might give you a really clear signal that you're ready to move on. Either way, that's a win. Like, that is a huge milestone because, you know, something that is always kind of said is like, sometimes you need to work out what you don't want to do to work out what you do want to do. And, you know, whether it's stepping away and you go, oh, actually, no, I really want to get back into it. And making sure those reasons are for the right reasons.
Isn't it funny? That really struck me when I read that email because it's what we talk to kids about is understanding your motivation and your why and really getting to the bottom of what that's about. If it's just about winning, then that's a pretty shaky foundation to be on. But if you really can
and that's where the identity comes part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have to be the winner. That is part of my identity. That's how I'm going to get value and be seen and all of these things. I wish that I could go back in time with the brain that I have now and the experience that I have now and put that in the athlete that I was as a 20-year-old, because I think my experience, which was already amazing, genuinely, like I'm forever grateful for my swimming experience, but it would have just had a different perspective. But like, if you just give yourself that time, step away, if you're going to go back, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, and otherwise enjoy the space. Give yourself that time and grace and understand that that is a huge process. I said it last week, I'm 13 years retired and I feel like I'm still processing transition and retirement, and that's normal. I genuinely think that's normal. There are people who go through it in the blink of an eye and it's easy and fine, and then there are other people like me who may forever be transitioning, and that's okay too.
I love it. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Sportish. We love talking about all this stuff and more. If you have some more listener questions, we'd love to take them.
Send them through.
Email us, DM us, whatever floats your boat. It's all in the show notes. We'll be back next week. I think, will that be our last one before we go on holidays, Lib?
Correct. That'll be the last one. And then it's Christmas time, basically.
And then we'll be dropping into your feed over summer with some really interesting chats that we've been having with some of our sportish friends. We hope you have a brilliant week. Get out there.
For the ones who are still limping their way to the end of school term, I wish you good luck.
We salute you.
We salute you.
I've got one to go.
You've got this. We believe in you all.
We can do it, guys.
And for those of you who are all on school holidays, I feel you. It's deep in my pain. I'm in the cave of pain at the moment, so I feel you.
Very confusing time, school holidays.
Wherever you are, Ash, we see you.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.